MDOT presents the Extra Mile Podcast, Legislative Session.
Welcome in to another episode of the Extra Mile Podcast, Legislative Session. I'm your host, Paul Catul, and I'm joined by my co-host, Will Kraft, who handles constituent and government affairs here at the Mississippi Department of Transportation. Will, I cannot believe it. It's about a month through the legislative session. It will be a month when this episode airs. It seems like things have really kind of flown by.
Time flies when you're having fun, isn't that what they say? Right.
That is indeed what they say. We've had a great run of guests, and we've got another great one today. We have State Senator Angela Turner Ford, and I'll give you a little information about Senator Turner Ford. She assumed office in 2013 and represents District 16. That's Clay, Lowndes, Noxubee, and Oktibbeha counties, and she is the chair of the Legislative Black Caucus. Senator Turner Ford, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely.
Senator, it says here again, we got you in office back in about 2013. What led you into politics? What drove you to get involved?
My father was a member of the state senate prior to me being elected, Benny Turner. He passed away. I was serving as the county prosecuting attorney for Clay County at the time.
Okay.
And I received a phone call shortly after his death suggesting that I consider running for the seat that he vacated. I did consider. I was successful, and I've been here ever since.
And no looking back, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely no looking back.
Enjoying every minute. Chairwoman of the Public Property Committee. Would you like to tell us a little bit about kind of measures that may come up in your committee and what that looks like?
Well, if there are issues with maybe changing laws pertaining to contractors that can make bids to, I would say, make renovations on properties, if there is, I would say, an opportunity to maybe sell public property, that may come before the committee, or if there's a purchase. So there are different issues. Anything related to properties owned by the state can potentially come before the Public Property Committee.
This is a transportation podcast here at MDOT, so we kind of ask everyone this question that comes in. So why, in your opinion, is it important for Mississippi to have a safe, efficient, robust, strong transportation network?
Transportation, highways, movement of goods, these are things that we rely on every day. And just as simple as, going to and from the store, you want to make sure that the roads are safe, they're passable. All of that affects, I think, your underlying budget. So transportation is an issue that affects us all to a great magnitude.
Absolutely. And can you think of any kind of challenges that we have in the state of Mississippi, or any hurdles that we have that we need to improve upon to kind of advance our transportation interests?
Well, I think there are, certain segments of the community, they are not, I would say, as comfortable with their roads as they would like.
Sure.
When those issues arise, I think we need to make sure that as a state, we're in a position to address those. We want to make sure that all roadways are passable and safe. And if it happens in a small segment of the community, we should all be concerned about it.
Are you hearing much about electronic vehicles, autonomous vehicles from some of your constituents?
I have not. I think a few years ago there was an issue that came up, I guess, maybe regarding license tags.
That's right.
And, the impact on electronic vehicles. I've heard of that, but in terms of just independent contact, I would say recently, no, I have not heard of those
Not
issues.
seeing a lot of Teslas out there quite yet.
I have not yet.
Quite yet. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, yeah, just back to the transportation thing a little bit. Can you talk maybe about how it impacts economic growth and development in your words?
Well, it's really important, and the reason I would say so, people who live in other areas, if they're considering coming to Mississippi, they want to know about the transportation network. I think that's one critical issue. And then people deciding where they will live or move about within the state.
Absolutely.
That's an issue that they could be concerned about as well. So it affects everything that we do. It's critical. Basically, when you leave your home, I think that you're impacted by the transportation network for the state of Mississippi.
I remember reading something that Mississippi being one of the most rural and states in the nation, we have more commuters than any other state in the country. So a lot of time spent by your constituents and our MDOT employees, other state, a lot of time spent by Mississippians on the road driving to and from. And a 20-minute drive here and there is one thing, but a 20-minute drive that beats your car to death is another,
It is, and then just if that may not be necessarily work-related, I mean, just
Sure.
social issues, purchasing groceries, getting to and from school. You know, we want to make sure that our buses have safe roads to transport our children. So these are just issues that affect everyone's daily life, and we want all Mississippians to have a good quality of life, and transportation is definitely a part of that.
No doubt, no doubt. And we want to give you an opportunity to take things back to home, to District 16. Are there any kind of projects, transportation, infrastructure projects that you're keeping an eye on right now?
Well, certainly there's one that I keep an eye on every time I leave my home, that there's a mill overlay on Highway 50 in Clay County going into Lowndes County. I think that's ultimately important. There was actually a sign, I think, on the side of the road that says, "Thank your legislator," in for the lottery and
That's
those
right.
funds that were appropriated to make those projects possible. So we're definitely appreciative. I would say, as an everyday citizen, I appreciate that the highway is smooth, it's widened, and those are things that I definitely think that most Mississippians, especially those in Clay and Lowndes County, that they're satisfied with. And there's also Highway 45. There's overlay going on there as well. So that affects Lowndes County, Clay County, Octopaha County, the Golden Triangle area. We're happy that those improvements are being made.
Lots of traffic on both of those routes. And the lottery, thank you and your colleagues. It's been infinitely helpful in trying to address a lot of our two-digit, three-digit highways out there. So we certainly appreciate you getting that money over here.
Well, I appreciate the agency for lifting up those roads for those improvements. I'm greatly grateful for the department for doing so.
Thank you. All right, and again, trying to keep it local, take it back home here. We talk a lot about transportation. I know you spend a lot of time on the roads, certainly driving to and from the Capitol. Are there any local hot spots, food spots that anytime you're in, or anytime you're in the neighborhood, you've got to stop in and get a bite to eat or something back home?
The one that I would recommend the most would be Anthony's.
Okay.
It's right off of Highway 45 in downtown West Point.
Okay.
It's a hot spot, live entertainment, great food. If you're in the area, I would encourage you to stop by.
What's your go-to meal at Anthony's?
I like the steaks.
Okay. We like
I
steaks.
prefer them medium, but it's a really, they have a varying degrees of entrees, and I think that you would be pleased.
Okay.
Will and I are taking notes throughout this. We've had some great answers from the guests before, and you gave us a great answer. We are taking notes, and we'll get out there and hit everything up.
Maybe the 2023 podcast legislative edition, we can host at these different locations where you can get a bite of all these things,
I'm for it.
That'd be very good.
Great idea.
Well, Senator, again, thank you so much for being with us today. Those that are listening out there, how could they get in touch with you if they wanted to kind of learn more about your office or your district or what your passions are?
Of course, internet, email is great. My email address is aford@senate.ms.gov.
right.
And then there's my local telephone number here at the Capitol, 601-359-3237. And if I'm not there, my committee assistant will answer, and she'll get the message to me.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much again, Senator Turner Ford, for coming to join us today. And to our listeners out there, thank you for listening. And if you want to hear more episodes of the Extra Mile Podcast Legislative Session, be sure to subscribe or download wherever podcasts can be found. You can also watch each episode of the Extra Mile and just search Mississippi Department of Transportation on YouTube. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The handle is @MississippiDOT. And as always, remember to drive smart out there on Mississippi highways.